It is soon going to be 8 months since Russia first invaded Ukraine. Since then, many lives have been lost, thousands of houses have been burnt down, and peace talks have taken a back seat. There are no signs of Russia backing out or Ukraine surrendering. This can only mean one thing, that the war is going to continue. The month of September was crucial for the conflict. For the first time since the invasion, Ukrainian forces started regaining large swathes of land in the east. At first, Russia did not respond, but soon Kremlin said that its forces had to fall back and regroup. Ukraine was able to recapture some lands that were held by separatists even before the invasion. This was seen as a major setback for Moscow. So Vladimir Putin sought his Crimea playbook. He launched 4 referendum votes in Luhansk, Donetsk, and parts of Kherson and Zaporizhia. And to no one's surprise, Kremlin said they were all in favor of quote-unquote reunification. Then came an explosion. On 8th of October, an early morning blast damaged a bridge partly. Russia's crucial supply was in disarray. Plumes of smoke billowed for hours, and 4 people lost their lives. In a national address, Vladimir Putin vowed for consequences. He vowed revenge for what he called an act of terrorism by Ukraine. He also promised to target key Ukrainian infrastructure, and he seems to have stood by his words. In the last few weeks, Russia has damaged 30% of Ukraine's power stations. Some cities were left with complete blackouts. Hospitals ran on backup. Water supplies came under attack. In a rare call, the president urged citizens to preserve all kinds of energy. Western arms have so far helped Ukraine defend against Russia. But the big question is, how will Volodymyr Zelensky defend against a war on its infrastructure? Well, let's try and answer that question. For more on this, we are now being joined by Yehor Brelian from Kyiv, who is a journalist. Yehor, good to see you. Do you see a stark escalation or a change in strategy with Russia increasingly targeting critical infrastructure in Ukraine? And is Ukraine ready for this?
Good morning. First of all, I can't say that there are some changes in Russian strategy. Russian army is targeting particularly civilian objects, especially schools, hospitals, residential buildings, and we have seen it during the last 8 months. And but the newest thing is that Vladimir Putin wanna destroy Ukrainian ability to fight against the Russian army, and it's obviously the act of despair, because Russian leadership clearly understands that they are losing. And if Russians are losing, they need to destroy Ukrainians' abilities to live. They want to destroy our ability to have electricity, gas, water in our home. And so...
Yehor, let me ask you this. Do you see the attacks as revenge attacks, as President Putin vowed to hit Ukrainian infrastructure after the attack on a bridge in Crimea?
First of all, in my point of view, that attack on Crimean bridge was one of acts of the Game of Thrones inside Kremlin, and it's some kind of battle among security forces inside Russia, and it's not the Ukrainian act, so Ukrainian army could do it, and that's why it was an act to make this attack on Kyiv on the 10th of October legitimate, just to legit their own attacks on Ukrainian territory. So you see, you blew up our bridge, and it was our reply to destroy infrastructure.
Yeah, let's move away from these attacks and we all know that winter is approaching. How difficult will things be for Ukraine, with Russia destroying a third of Ukraine's power stations?
Yes, the winter is coming, and we don't know for sure what it will be actually, but at the same time, Ukrainian allies, especially NATO countries, they help us a lot. And during the last Defense Ministerial, Secretary General of NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, he mentioned that the alliance will help Ukraine with winter clothing, medical aid, and also for the first time anti-drone systems, and a new military aid package was announced by the Minister of National Defense of Canada, Anita Anand. So we see that Ukrainian allies and partners, they help us a lot, and with their help, Ukraine will stand and Ukraine will win. Yes, situation is very critical because if Russians would destroy our main infrastructure objects, we will have hard winter, but at the same time, European countries understand that they will have it either.
Yeah, finally, how do you see the statement of the new commander of Russian forces in Ukraine, who made a rare acknowledgement of the pressures they were under from Ukrainian offensives?
As far as I can understand, General Surovikin mentioned that Ukrainian forces want to attack Novakhovka, and there could be some changes in Russian positions near Kherson. But I can translate this message as that Russians will do as an act of goodwill, and they will pull out from Kherson region, and that's why the situation is very critical for the Russian armed forces in the south.
Yehor Bralian is a journalist live from Kyiv. Thank you very much for talking to us on WION today. Now, there are no signs of Russia backing out of or Ukraine surrendering. This can only mean one thing, that the war is going to continue. The month of September was crucial for the conflict. For the first time since the invasion, Ukrainian forces started regaining large swathes of land in the east. At first, Russia did not respond, but soon Kremlin said that its forces had to fall back to regroup. Ukraine was able to recapture some lands that were held by separatists even before the invasion. This was seen as a major setback for Moscow. So Vladimir Putin sought his Crimea playbook. He launched 4 referendum votes in Luhansk, Donetsk, and parts of Kherson and Zaporizhia. And to no one's surprise, Kremlin said they were all in favor of quote-unquote reunification. Let's talk more about this, and we're now being joined by Sergei Strokan from Moscow, who is a journalist. Sergei, welcome to the program. How do you see Russia increasingly targeting Ukrainian infrastructure after President Putin vowed to do so after the attack on the bridge in Crimea? Sergei, if you can hear me, and welcome to the program. Can you hear me? Well, we understand that on 8th of October, an early morning blast damaged the Crimean bridge partly. Russia's crucial supply was in disarray. Plumes of smoke billowed for hours and 4 people lost their lives. In a national address, Vladimir Putin vowed for consequences. He vowed revenge for what he called an act of terrorism by Ukraine. He also promised to target key Ukrainian infrastructure, and he seemed to have stood by his words. Now, in the last few weeks, Russia has damaged 30% of Ukraine's power stations. Some cities were left with complete blackouts. Hospitals ran on backup. Water supplies came under attack. And in a rare call, the president urged citizens to preserve all kinds of energy. And we had a revelation from one of the Russian commanders in Kherson, who said and claimed that it is very difficult to capture that area in Ukraine. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.